Welcome to the June 21st Select Board meeting. After 462 days on June 15th, Governor Baker signed an executive order terminating the Commonwealth state of emergency. On June 16th, he signed an order extending certain pandemic-inspired authorizations, including the extension of remote public meetings to April 1st, 2022. This is good news as we try to get back to in-person meetings that we've all missed. And it gives us time to figure out the best ways to meet safely and explore ways to take advantage of the remote aspect of the way we learned to conduct meetings in the past year that allowed more people to participate. But tonight's select board meeting will be conducted remotely via Zoom and will not be open to the public for physical attendance. The meeting is being recorded, live streamed, and cable broadcast by the Easton Community Access Television, which is Comcast 98 and Verizon 23, and on ECAT's website, www.eastoncat.org. This meeting is closed captioned for the hearing impaired. If you're watching on your computer, you'll see a CC button at the bottom of the toolbar of your screen. If you're watching at home and you have a question or a comment, you can email Michael Blanchard at mblanchard@easton.ma.us or pose your question on the Q&A feature of the Zoom portal. Please remember to include your name and street address for our minutes. At this time, I'd like to ask each select board member to state their name to ensure we have a quorum.
Craig Barger.
Mark Lamb.
Jamie Stebbins.
Jennifer Stacy.
And I'm Dottie Fulgenetti. Thanks for being here, everyone. So the first item that we have is a one-day liquor license for the Easton Chamber of Commerce. Let me just get to that. The applicant Karen Newman from the Easton Chamber of Commerce has applied for a one-day beer and wine liquor license for a chamber barbecue event fundraiser to be held on September 21st, 2021 at the Queesit House, 51 Main Street, Easton, from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. An Easton police detail is not required for this event. The recommendation is approval contingent upon compliance with any COVID-19 rules, regulations, and safety standards that may be in place at the date of that event. I don't believe that Karen is here, so if anybody has any questions, looks pretty standard. If I could get a motion to authorize the one-day liquor license.
So moved, Barger.
Second, Lamb.
Barger and Lamb, back to you, Craig.
Barger, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Stebbins, yes.
Stacy, yes.
And Fulgenetti, yes. The next item is also a license for Rosemary Fresh, Our Table Dinner Party at the Queesit House on 51 Main Street, Easton, on July 10th, 2021. The applicant Meredith Bonney of Rosemary Fresh has applied for a one-day beer and wine liquor license for the Our Table Dinner Party event that again will be held on July 10th, 2021 at the Queesit House. An Easton police detail is not required for the event. And the recommendation again is approval contingent upon compliance with any COVID-19 rules, regulations, and safety standards that may be in place the day of the event. And she is not here either. Any comments or questions?
I have one question that's just not kind of orthogonal to this, but what is the threshold for an event when police detail is needed? Like, is there a certain number of attendees?
No, there's not a specific number of attendees. The police department gets sent a copy of the proposed event, including the number of attendees, the location, the hours, and it's a discretionary decision by the chief or the deputy if they think that a detail would be needed for traffic or other concerns. The town generally doesn't assign details unless it's a larger event because details are not free.
Right. All right, thank you.
No problem.
So if somebody would like to make a motion to approve this one-day beer, wine, and liquor license.
So moved, Barger.
Second, Lamb.
Barger, Lamb.
Barger, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Stebbins, yes.
Stacy, yes.
And Fulgenetti, yes. Next for discussion and vote, an amendment to the Easton Shoveltown Cultural District Management Partnership Team Charge.
I'm sorry, Dottie, I think we might have skipped one licensing item for a change of manager.
You're right, I'm looking right at it and I missed it. The application for a change of manager for the 99 restaurants in we received an application for a change of manager submitted by the 99 restaurant. The manager would change from Ron Lima to Anthony Santucci. And I believe Mr. Santucci is here.
Yes, I am here.
Hello, how are you tonight?
Very good. How are you?
Very good. Thank you for.
Oh, there we go.
Great. So you're going to be the new manager at the 99.
Yes, I am.
Great. Have you managed restaurants there before, or?
I have. I've been on the 99 11 years now.
Okay.
And I was the general manager in Fairhaven before Easton.
Great. Well, welcome to Easton.
Oh, thank you.
I guess the only comment that I would have for you is, that we say to any change of manager is that we are a college town and we take liquor licenses very seriously. So just make sure that your people are doing the right thing and carding. We haven't had any problem with the 99, so I don't suspect that will be an issue, but just it's just a standard thing that I mentioned to restaurants with any kind of a change in management.
Oh, absolutely. We take it very seriously as well.
Any questions by anyone on the board? Do you have any questions for us, Mr. Santucci?
No, I do not.
Okay. Well, with that, if somebody would like to make a motion to accept the application for a change of manager, this has been reviewed by the town departments and there's been no concerns. So a motion and a second.
So moved, Barger.
Second, Lamb.
Bodger and Lamb.
Barger, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Stebbins, yes.
Stacy, yes.
And full Janetti, yes. Good luck in your new position there, and hopefully we'll see you there sometime.
Very good. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, now jumping ahead to discussion and vote for an amendment to the Easton Shoveltown Cultural District Management Partnership Team change. In 2019, the Select Board adopted a charge for the Easton Shoveltown Cultural District Management Partnership Team to administer the Easton Shoveltown Cultural District. And there's a map of that in our packet. The charge formalized and strengthened the existing Shoveltown Cultural District Partnership led by Carolyn Cole. The partnership team has identified an issue of achieving quorum and requested that the board amend the charge to reduce the number of persons appointed to the partnership team from 12 to 7 members and 2 alternates. There are currently a sufficient number of vacancies on the partnership team to avoid any removal of the members to reach this reduced number. And there is a charge for our consideration to effectuate the change. The proposed revision also updates the Board of Selectmen to Select Board. And I can say some of you were not on the board when we had this vote originally, but what happened is there were so many people that wanted to be a part of this district team that we, amended. I think this was the one we amended the charge to get it to 12 so that we didn't have to say no to anyone. But then, as sometimes happens with large groups, things change and people can't make it to the meetings anymore. So there were months that the board couldn't meet because we couldn't achieve a quorum. So this will be a good fix for that. Does anyone have any questions? Nope. All right. If somebody would like to make a motion to amend the Shoveltown Cultural District Management Partnership team charge.
So moved, Barger.
Second, Lamb.
Roger Lamb,
Barger, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Stebbins, yes.
Stacy, yes.
and full Janetti, yes. Okay. Next is the annual reappointment of constables. We have James Hartford, Adam Loomis, Matthew Palkus, and William Sharnick. I apologize if I mispronounced anybody's names. They are all currently serving the town of Easton as constables with a term set to expire June 30th, 2021, and they're seeking an additional term of 3 years. The applications have been reviewed by the Deputy Chief of Police and the Treasurer Collector with no concerns. So if anybody has any questions or comments.
Part of it was it provided an updated bond. What's an updated bond, Connor?
It's an insurance certificate, effectively, with the clerks that insures the constables for their duties.
Okay, thank you.
It's a standard provision the board usually includes in its reappointments.
So if nobody else has any questions or comments, can we get a motion to reappoint the constables as noted in the agenda?
So moved, Barger.
second, Lamb,
Roger Lamb,
Is it a roll call necessary?
Oh, all your votes typically are remotely, so I would do roll calls of the slate.
Okay. So Barger, Slate,
Lamb, Slate,
Evans, Slate.
Stacy, Slate.
and full Janetti slate. Okay, next we have the annual board and committee volunteer appointments. We have a list attached of candidates for appointment. We did get a couple of changes this afternoon. There was a date change, and then there was one, Green Communities, Nicholas Wallow he withdrew his application. So let me see, there are no contested appointments, and we can do a roll call motion, and that's listed in the packet, Craig. But there are still some vacancies on some of these committees, so
yeah.
we really do encourage people to take a look at the volunteer section of the website and see if there is anything that they're interested in. And maybe we could do a little recap. Let me see. The Agricultural Commission is still open 1 seat. The Audit Committee is still open 1 seat. The Canoe River Aquifer Advisory Committee still has a seat open. The Cemetery Commission also has a seat open. The Commission on Disabilities has 1 seat open. And the Cultural Council, which is different than the district, they have 2 seats open. The Economic Development Council has 1 alternate seat open. Green Communities has a seat open. The Human Rights Committee has 1. The Municipal Building Committee has 1. The Public Spaces Committee, the Recreation Committee, and that is it. So if people are interested, please take a look at that. And if you have any questions about any of the committees and what they do, reach out to someone on the committee or reach out to anyone on the select board, and we'll be happy to help you. So if there's anyone have any comments or questions?
No.
Craig, do you want to make a motion?
Sure. I move to appoint all uncontested volunteers for terms as prescribed to each committee as listed in the slate.
second, Lamb,
Roger Lamb,
Barger, Slate,
Lamb, Slate,
Evans, Slate.
Stacy, Slate.
and full Janetti slate. On to the next item, which is a contract award for Liberty Chevrolet Inspectional Services 2022 Chevrolet Colorado pickup truck. So we do have a memo for that.
Sure. So there's a memo in the packet from the building commissioner, Kevin Greiner, along with the town standard supplies contract for the purchase of a inspectional services truck. This was part of the town's approved capital improvement program voted on by town meeting.
So the contract amount would be $31,911.11, and it's funded through, as Connor said, the approved capital funds. Anyone have any questions? All right, Craig, would you like to make a motion?
moved.
second, Lamb,
That's Barger Lamb,
Barger, yes.
Lamb, yes,
Evans, yes.
Stacy, yes.
and full Janetti, yes. Okay, the next item up is another contract award for the Easton Town Offices renovation project, architectural and construction administration services to Spencer, Sullivan, and Voight.
So DPW Director Dave Field is here for this item and the next one. I'll give a very brief overview of this, and then Dave can weigh in with a lot more particulars. As the board will recall, in November of 2020, a special town meeting voted to approve and appropriate just shy of $1.5 million CPA funding for the restoration and preservation of the town offices, which is the town's largest or most publicly used historic asset. Part of that process, or the first major step in that process, is the solicitation, review, and execution of the contract with architectural design services, and that is what we have tonight. A couple of hours ago, I forwarded that contract to the board. It's the town's standard boilerplate, along with a memo from DPW Director Field, who's here to provide a little more background on the process that got us to where we are and answer any questions you might have about the contract or the project moving forward.
Good evening.
Hi, David.
Good evening, David.
As Connor mentioned, this is for the Town Hall Exterior Innovations Project, as required by public procurement for building projects, where the design fee is going to be over $30,000 and the estimated construction cost is over $300,000. We're required to do a designer selection committee and an RFQ. So DPW put an RFQ out a few months ago. We received 8 responses. The designer selection committee, which is comprised of a representative from Historic Commission, from CPA, from Municipal Building, and from my office, myself, the Assistant Town Engineer, and the Director of Planning. We made up the designer selection committee, and we ranked all the responses received, and we unanimously selected Spencer Sullivan and Vogt, or SSV, to be our designer. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about the process or any part of the contract.
Great. Any questions, Craig?
So David, they come up with a design and then they oversee the construction throughout the project. Is that my understanding?
Yes, so there was an initial feasibility study done to look at what was needed for the building. Now comes the design process, where we're actually going to design up and create those bidding documents that describe to the contractors what exactly is going to be done. And then they'll provide construction services as well during the construction phase to review shop drawing submittals and things like that.
So they're basically the general contractor. Is that how?
No, so they're the designer. They'll give us administrative support during construction to review the contractor's work and any submittals and things like that come in that need to be reviewed and approved.
Okay, thank you, David.
Mark?
Yes, I do have a quick question about the duration. What is the duration of the design phase?
So the design phase, we probably about 6 months. We really think we should be pure design 2 to 3 months. We'll be out with bidding, and then review bids, recommendation and award, and hopefully jump right into construction over the winter.
Okay, great.
Jamie?
No, I think that's answered. Thanks, Dave.
Jen?
No, it's been covered. Thank you.
Okay, great. I think this is a great selection. They're also the architect that's worked with Oaks Ames Hall, so they're really very, very familiar with our town, our buildings, the way that we value our historic buildings especially. So they've done right by us in the past, and very excited to have them on board. So congratulations on that selection, Dave.
Thank you.
So if there are no other questions, can I get a motion to award that contract for the town offices renovation project to Spencer Sullivan and Voigt?
Proposal is for $132,600.
Yes.
So moved, Barger.
Second, Lamb.
Roger Lamb?
Barger, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Stebbins, yes.
Stacy, yes.
And full Janetti, yes.
One item, just a quick note, is that planning did submit concurrent to this process moving forward to CPA funding a request to, I believe, was it Mass Historical, Dave?
Yes, I believe so. We just got the letter today.
We got a letter today that we're receiving a $50,000 state grant to supplement the funding to this. So in the scale of the project, it's a small help, but it's still assistance, and it's always nice to see continued progress on winning grants across our departments. So thank you to planning and DPW for that.
That's excellent.
Ending.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
Every little bit helps.
It really does.
The next is a contract award for waste management curbside waste and recycling contract, the extension and fee discussion for fiscal year 22 and 23.
Sure. So just a little bit of background on this contract for the board. Curbside waste pickup contracts and services are exempt from procurement law. You don't have to go through a competitive bid process every time you do a contract extension. And generally, if you're satisfied with the service being provided, you can just offer an extension. If you think the pricing that you're being offered is not necessarily, reflective of best effort, towns can go through the work to basically do a competitive bid and make the existing vendor, in this case Waste Management, go submit a bid and compete to maintain the contract. Given this level of service that's being provided and what DPW Director Field and I feel is a fair proposal that accurately reflects where the market is, what we're recommending is a 2-year extension as proposed with Waste Management. We would keep an eye on it and, reserve the option if we feel it's in the interest of the town, and we would come to the board first, just because it would be potentially disruptive to switch curbside pickup for 3,000 to 4,000 customers to determine if we were going to do a bid. At this time, that's not what we're considering. So there's a proposal in your packet. There's a couple of minor edits going back and forth between town council and Waste Management. We can get to that after, but I figured I would just give that kind of broad summary first and answer any questions the board may have about process.
David, do you want to tell us just a little bit about the recycling services, just a high-level overview of what's offered, how often it's offered, and so forth for people that may not yet be on the town's trash service?
Sure, thank you. Last amendment we did, which was amendment number 3 a few years ago, we added weekly curbside recycling, and we increased the bulk pickup, the bulky item pickup to 6 times per year. So we're maintaining that level of service going forward in this contract amendment. I think it's, the system works very well. Waste Management does a good job. There's always missed pickups and things like that happen on any contract, but in the scheme of things, Waste Management has been very good to work with and provides a good service to the town.
And are they still going to continue with the textile pickups in the separate bag?
Yeah, so that's a separate entity. That's Simple Recycling, and they are patrolling the town, but we do find, because there isn't a ton of use on it, it's easier to call and order a pickup through them. So if anyone has any questions, they can go to our website. There's a link right there to Simple Recycling for that textile pickup. Again, we don't want to take away any donations to other charities or any other type of donation bins. But if you're going to throw away something, we'd rather you recycle the textiles and get it out of our waste stream rather than cost us money with the tipping fee.
And we do have textile recycling bins in the school, in the Parkview School and the middle school. I know of. Those are the ones that I go to, but well, I'm not sure if Parkview's there anymore now that they're doing the construction, but certainly the middle school. So that's for things that you might not want to pass on to, a place that's going to be giving for things with holes in it, or old towels, or things that you couldn't really reuse. And I think they take shoes and other things there as well.
Monroe Hall has one as well in the, as you drive through the back of the building. Okay. On the side.
Schools get money for that.
Mm-hmm.
Terrific. Any questions, Craig?
Just, David, I think it's really important, once again, we have the opportunity to talk about the recycling in terms of the contaminants and what it costs us if we don't stay below a certain level. I think it's real important for people to understand that bowling balls, for example, can't go into recycling. I think it's important for you to be able to articulate that for the general public.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Craig. So we do have which went in the last amendment, a contamination fee. So if our loads on an audit, they do periodic audits, are over 10% of non-recyclable materials in our recycling bins, then we actually have to pay a fee for that percentage over. And right now we're at 13.8% for a contamination rate. It's not great, but it's not horrible. We'd love to be below the 10, and we wouldn't have to have any issues with extra fees. But we have come down from our initial, we were in the 15s and we're down to 13.8. And it's a continual education effort. And we do get rejected loads very frequently. People call and say, you know, either my recycling barrel is tagged or it wasn't picked up. And then we'll go through and we'll look at the tag list. Waste Management gives us a list of all the things that were wrong, and we'll explain to a person why their recycling bin wasn't picked up. There was trash in it. There was plastic bags. There was things that aren't recyclable. So it's a continual education effort. And Nancy in my office does a great job of walking people through that. And that's basically on a one-on-one basis. It'd be great to get the word out. We just don't have a lot of staffing on DPW, and we appreciate all the help that Green Communities Committee has given to this effort as well. But yes, we definitely want to keep that contamination rate down as low as possible. And it's going to keep our rates as low as possible.
Thank you, David.
Mark,
No questions. Thank you.
Jamie?
No questions. And I just second what Dave said about the green communities. I know that's been a real big, push on their part to try to improve, and I've done some great work with some of the local scouts. So I think that'll continue. They're working now on another effort to educate not only within the schools, but within the community, and looking at the NRT in the fall.
Jennifer?
How often are the audits done, Dave?
So it's right now it's been about every 6 to 8 months that we've done audits. I think we're probably due for an audit, but that's really up to Waste Management. Right now with 13.8, we're not really in bad shape, so we're not pushing the issue. If we thought we're doing better, we'd definitely ask for an audit, but I don't see the evidence that we're doing any better. So that's where it stands.
Is there any opportunity to include, maybe more of a Connor question, any kind of information when we send out bills to folks about reminding them of what's recycled, what's not, or, hey, we are over and you run the risk of higher bills, etc. when we send out like the quarterly invoices, for example?
I'm not sure, Dave, do we contract out the billing or is it done in-house?
Yeah, the billing goes out to the collector's office, but we do a calendar every year, and it has all that information. So all the residents, all the subscribers get a full calendar, and it has all the information, including what not to put in there, what not to throw away in your recycling bin, tanglers, food, all those things. So we are doing that effort, and Waste Management actually covers the cost of that educational mailer. More education is always great. But I think there is a cost to doing bill stuffers.
Yeah.
So that's why we haven't done it yet.
Maybe if our rate gets high enough, we can do a pilot or something and see if it might be something that has a benefit.
That's something we can definitely look into.
Cool. Thank you. That's all I have.
Jen, I think it's important to know that the Green Communities Committee is working on, and I know Jamie knows this better than I do now that I'm no longer on that committee, but they've worked for a couple of years on trying to get the word out to people about what you can recycle and what you can't recycle.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a moving target for a lot of folks in terms of even in the moment. So I know it's hard work and it's definitely a challenge reaching out. So
Well, maybe we could find the most common, I know myself, I hesitate on some things to know, is it recyclable or not? But if, we could remind people of some of the low-hanging fruit, if you will, of what people make mistakes putting them in there, that might be helpful too. I guess probably the best way to ask about recycling is to ask your little kids, because they do a really good job in the schools with that, of teaching them what is recyclable and what's not. And even talking about, aside from recycling, how can you cut down on using things the first time? The NRT, when my kids were little, used to have a day on the field trip where the kids would bring their lunch with them and they would weigh the actual waste at the end of it. And the classroom that had the least amount of waste that they threw away would get some kind of a little prize. So, that's when my kids started using reusable packaging, that they'd have to carry home from school from their lunch. But it was, the less we can use in the first place, the better, I guess.
And just to add one more thing, on that, we are a Recycle Smart partner. And so we do have a listing, Recycle Smart listing of all, like an encyclopedia that you can get through our website of what you can recycle and what you can't. So if you have a question about something, you can type it in there and it'll tell you if it's okay to go in your bin or if there's an alternate way to get rid of that. We have pushed some of that out on Facebook, especially the common mistakes made. But I'll take the blame for it. It's just one of those things that, we do it a few times and then we're just kind of, overwhelmed with other projects. And that's is a good reminder to maybe we'll hit that with our social media campaign a little bit more to try to get that word out.
Yeah, and I don't know if it would be cost prohibitive or not, but when I worked in the space in a previous life, it was all about the signage and having the information right there in front of people, because once it's like, you have the mailer, which I put on my fridge, so we are constantly looking at it to make sure we're in compliance. And sometimes we mess up too. But for folks who may, recycle that and just, mark the bulk days in the calendar and kind of figure out what the mailer or whatnot. I don't know if it's a sticker or something, but when I was in that space, it was all about like the constant reminders that were really visible and clear. Because otherwise there's drift and behavior changes, and once that behavior changes to a certain point, getting it back in the right direction can be a challenge. So I don't know if that'd be super cost prohibitive or if we could encourage that in some way, but even on social media as a starting point. But the data all show definitely that to get people to do something consistently, they need the reminders and the triggers in their behavior.
Definitely.
Unfortunately, sometimes the thing that will remind them is a price increase. Really, you don't change your behavior unless you see some kind of a different something that forces you to do that. So we're really hoping to be able to keep the prices contained on this. And unfortunately, if we can't lower that, that's what we would be looking at. So
I just want to be clear that even if everyone does like A+ work, prices are going to keep going up. Those are market forces outside of our control. And we've been contending with that for particularly since 2017 or 18, I believe, where recycling used to basically be a profit generator for these companies, and that's flipped entirely. And so it's I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer here, but I just want to be clear that even if folks do better with contamination, at some point in the next 6 to 18 months, we'll probably have to come back to the board with a fee analysis of the enterprise fund and make a decision on whether or not rate increases are necessary, not as a result of excessive contamination, although if that gets out of control, that certainly can drive costs, but just the unit costs are going. And part of this extension is roughly what, 4% per year, Dave?
Correct.
So at this time, we're not requesting that or suggesting we need it, but it will be on the horizon. We were able to keep costs flat for many years of a program, but we have had to incrementally start increasing those of broader global market forces, particularly on recycling.
And I will give a shout out that I know that their drivers, and I guess, I don't know how they compare with other drivers of other industries, but I see things quite often on social media about how kind the drivers are to the little kids in the town. If it's something even like beeping the horn when they go by or stopping to talk with them about recycling or about how much they love the trucks. They really have good public relations from the people that work for them. So, giving a shout out to the workers, the drivers, thank you for doing a great job for Easton. So wrapping up with that, if somebody would like to make a motion to award the contract, and how will I say that, contingent on?
I would ask for just a vote to authorize me to execute the contract with Waste Management upon town council's approval of costs and termination language.
So moved, Barger.
Second, Lamb.
Barger, Lamb.
Barger, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Evans, yes.
Stacy, yes.
And Full Janetti, yes. Thank you. And next, a discussion and vote on the Blanche Ames Elementary School MSBA project change order protocol and authorization of School Planning Committee Technical Review Committee to execute change orders on behalf of the owner.
Sure. Thank you, Dottie. So attached to the board's packet is a memo from Chad Crittenden, one of the managers at PMA Consultant, who's the town's owner's project manager for the Blanche Ames Elementary School construction project. This memo was voted on or approved for recommendation of the select board by the school planning committee last week at their meeting. And what this memo does is basically lay out a protocol for a technical review committee composed of members of the school planning committee as well as town staff. To basically, this committee would meet once per week and take a look at proposed and pending change orders from a general contractor that have been reviewed by the architect and our OPM and make decisions responsibly based on the project needs to authorize those to move forward or not. And really the goal here is to have a process baked in that's efficient and allows the town as a project owner to keep the project moving and not have every time somebody digs into the ground and there's something 2 feet to the left of where the plans show it, have to stop construction until it goes to a public meeting. So the memo is pretty exhaustive of who is on this committee. It would be myself, Dave Field, Ken Carlson from the school planning committee, Sam Cedarbaum, and David Twombly from the schools. We work with PMA and it lays out requirements for either discretionary or mandatory approvals. It would have to be within the project appropriation, and we would report out to the school planning committee at their regular monthly meetings what those changes were.
Any questions from the board?
Oh, it makes sense to me.
It makes sense to me. I do have a couple questions. So in the past, when we had a project of this magnitude, what did we do?
So it's a great question. And Dave is usually the person managing the really enormous projects on the town side when they're of this magnitude, and pointed out to me in the meeting last week that part of this is just for kind of horse trading and managing a contract out in the field, where you don't necessarily need to come in and authorize every single requested change, particularly earlier on in the job, because the contracts are a bottom line amount, right? So in this case, it's somewhere in the area of $70 million. If there's a change order for 40 grand today, there is a potential future risk of that maybe changing the total spend. But right now, based on your real cash flow, you're not going to dip into contingency. So particularly if it's a necessary change, right? We found something that has to be removed, for example. You do it and you can credit that later if there's some change that would reduce costs and things like that. So Dave, did I generally cover that?
Yes, and again, I think the technical review committee is there to give the okay to proceed, and then the full change order would be lumped together with all these smaller changes and then approved by the select board and the school committee at a later date.
Okay. My only concern, and again, I preface it by saying I do think it's a good idea, but change orders, historically, they're hard. They're hard to get, so that you try to avoid change orders, right? There's not a level of comfort or not a great level of comfort when a contractor wants to issue a change order because they know it's relatively cumbersome. So I think to myself, I don't want it to be really easy. I want them to stick to the plan. I understand there's always change orders. I get that. I just wanted to make mention of that. And I just want to also be sure that, so we're not being cut out of the loop at the end of every month or so. Those change orders will be shared with us, correct?
They'll be shared with the school planning committee. And that's at a public meeting, and at any time the board could ask for us to turn over any documents about.
Okay, but in the past we would see that, and now we're not seeing that.
No, you will eventually, to Dave's point. So over the course of a project, there may be check-in points where the technical review committee says, okay, we've had 10 minor changes that have added up to $400,000 out of a project.
10 minor changes. That's where I get uncomfortable, is because people might sit back and say, $40,000 changes, 400. That's a lot of money. Well, so I want to make sure that I'm plugged in.
Well, it's my responsibility to make to you and the town to make sure that we're not just being flip and wasting money. And it's also the OPM's responsibility to us. They would review it with the architect and make a determination before it would even get to us on whether or not it was something that is necessary to the advancement of a project, or would just deny it. So it's not an automatic yes. There are large contingencies baked into the project budget. And if it was anything that was to a degree where we felt uncomfortable and we could wait, we could still have the option of coming back. But this is pretty standard. And it would, Dave, you want to?
Yeah, and just as an example, on the Five Corner Sewer project, we probably had 40 individual change items, but we only had 4 change orders on the project. We brought those to the select board. So during the work, we found X or we found Y. They need a decision on the spot, and that's really what the technical review committee is. It's not being flip. It's going to be, yes, this is absolutely needed, and there's a running tally on what the budget number and budget impacts are. So it's just the first screening to keep the project moving so it doesn't bog down. And most of the time on any project, you have, credits and debits of various things on the project. You add some here, you can take away some here because you change the material. So it happens frequently, Mark. It's just what you see as far as change orders. You're right. It's a lot of paperwork involved in those, and those will all come through the proper course. It's the technical review committee is there to make sure that the project moves on time and doesn't bog down waiting for approvals.
I started saying I do support this. I support it now. I supported it in the beginning. I need to do my due diligence too, and ask some questions and make sure that I'm plugged in. And this won't change that. So you've given me more comfort in that. So there you go.
Yeah, and Mark, a good kind of check-in valve there is item 6 in the memo, is that if there's a change order that's considered discretionary, so something that might maybe benefit the project but is not absolutely necessary, and it's over 10,000, in addition to having to be signed off on by the general contractor, the architect, and the OPM, the school planning committee will get an email where they basically get a hold, kind of like if you're at town meeting, and if a single member says, I'm uncomfortable with this, they'll call an emergency meeting of the school planning committee, a public meeting, to review it before it gets approved.
Okay, good. Thank you.
No problem.
Jamie.
No questions. Thank you.
Jennifer.
Mark's question was great, and just to dovetail on that, then it sounds like at risk of not doing this is that we could run into adding extra costs from delaying elements of the project and whatnot as well. So it kind of lets us be agile in a way.
Yes, I mean, we have to be, right? So, and I agree with Mark. If there's some level of uncomfort there when you're thinking about, okay, well, this is public money, we want to make sure it's being spent well, but you have to think about the marginal return on your time, right? If you cost $100,000 in overages due to people having to come in on the weekends to make up for lost time, so that we can have a public meeting to review a $12,000 change order, that's a huge net loss, right? A real-time example actually came up last week at the school planning committee meeting. We had to do an item not anticipated by the chair on the agenda because something came up in the field where a structure underground was, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong here, but was slightly different than what it looked like on the map. And it was under a proposed foundation footing, which you can't have. So our feelings on why it's on the map, where it got there, really don't matter. If we want the building to continue being built, we have to remove that and fill right away. And so the school planning committee, without having it posted on the agenda, had to take that action to authorize PMA to move forward with that because the project needs it, or else it's going to get stalled in the field. Having the TRC would create a flexible group that can actually review those things more readily than a large committee and make those decisions moving forward. So yes, Jennifer, that's the balance you try to strike. So we would report all those out to the school planning committee at their monthly meetings. More than happy to copy the select board on that if you want. And it all is kept in a part of the obligation here is that PMA keeps a real-time log of all pending and then approved change orders. We have to keep pretty extraordinarily detailed records of this project because it's an MSBA job.
And I
Thank
would
you.
just say that, you know, there is a contingency. Any large job or small job for that matter is going to have things come up that are unexpected as you go along. And so there is a contingency for that. So, you know, there's a buffer there. But as somebody who has sat on the school planning committee for a few years now, and Jamie, I think you can weigh in on this as well. They look at everything with a fine tooth comb. We look at everything with them. When we were doing the budgeting for the cost of the construction, like literally line item by line item by line item, there were some that we wanted to change, some that we wanted to, you know, remove, or I mean, the choices that were involved in this were incredible. And, you know, we were coming in under budget on things fairly regularly. I don't remember going over budget on anything. So I would just say my level of comfort in working with this team, with the project managers and everyone involved, is they're looking at the money like it's their own money, and they have a reputation too, right? So if they were one to just kind of run rampant with the change orders, I think that that would be something that would be known in the industry, and they've really so far, you know, by my account, have done very well. So Jamie, you used to sit on that board. I don't know if you have anything you want to add.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think the reason I'm also sitting back a little bit quiet, which isn't right, Mark, you are asking a great question. I do have a much higher level of comfort, but that should be said. You're right, should be spoken. Working with and watching PMA has been phenomenal. I mean, I think they've helped us catch things that, you know, even we didn't see, and said, hey, no, you really, you know, look at it this way. So it's been phenomenal. Our level of comfort with them is, you know, they've grown, they've built a real relationship of trust with us. And at the same time, we can ask, they are open books. So we've asked them a lot of tough questions too. And they've been very forthright. If they didn't have the answers, they got back to us with them very punctually too. We never had asked twice. And the information was furnished usually before we even, you know, we said, hey, maybe by the next meeting, and it was in our email box the next morning. So it's, yeah, my level of comfort is very high for that reason.
And I would say, that said, that is our job to make sure that we're doing that. So I think we're all right, you know, and I thank you for bringing that up, because that is something that we do want people to know, that we are looking at it. And if we don't have a lot of discussion on it, the thing that we're not asking those questions or paying attention. So for people that are currently working with them and the ones that haven't yet, I think it's a good perspective. So if there are no more questions on that, let me see, where is the, Craig, if you'd like to make a motion to authorize the technical review committee to be able to execute change orders on behalf of the town as presented in the memo.
So moved.
Second, Lamb.
Roger, Lamb,
Barger, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Stebbins, yes.
Stacy, yes.
and full Janetti, yes. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
So I'm going to skip over to the minutes because I usually get excited to adjourn and I forget about that. So let me go back to that. We have general minutes dated December 1st, 2020, and May 17th, 2021, and June 7th, 2021. Does anyone have any questions or comments on the minutes?
None.
Craig, do you want to make a motion to accept those minutes?
So moved. Barger.
Second, Lamb.
Roger, Lamb,
Barger, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Stebbins, yes.
Stacy, yes.
and full Janetti, yes. Next, we have town administrator notes. Connor, do you have anything?
Sure. So I just want to take a quick moment to recognize and thank Michael Blanchard. I think his name's probably at the end of most of those minutes. Mike is filling in for multiple positions right now and making it all work somehow, including items that end up being a slate, like board and committee renewal, but that's actually one of the larger labor lifts of the year as far as time consumption. I just want to acknowledge I think members of the board have pointed out that often the town of Easton bubble in the corner has its camera off, but Michael is kind of omnipresent and always keeping things afloat. So I want to recognize him and say thank you. And also just a quick note, we were notified today by the executive director of SEMRAC that we've been awarded $1.57 million for the Regional 911 Development Grant for this fiscal year, which is great. That's an important part of our funding for the debt service for the now complete construction, the 911 center.
You're fading in and out, Connor. I can't hear.
I thought
Yeah, I'm losing you too, and I missed the number.
right.
Oh, I'm sorry. 3.57 million for SEMREC. That is part of our ongoing funding strategy for the debt service for the building at High Rock, which is now done, as well as the operating costs of the district. So great work to Executive Director Verdone, and always love to see grants coming through. So that's what I have. Dottie, I think there was something else that you suggested I mentioned and I'm forgetting. So if you remember, it's all yours.
Craig, anything from you?
No, I've got nothing right now.
Mark?
Yes, I do have a quick comment. So tonight we appointed a lot of people to a lot of different committees. So they were all incumbents. So thank you for your years of service prior, and thank you for your years ahead. But I also want to they contribute and they participate all year long, and they serve the town and they do it. And we're grateful, right? So I ask that they would consider joining town meeting to see all their hard work pay off. Because I often see a lot of boards and committees that we have, and these people are dedicated to the town. I'd love to see them at town meeting, so that's really it.
I think that's a really great point, Mark. And, I think that I was focused on trying to read some of the things while I was talking, and I neglected to really say we appreciate the people that volunteer to come forward. So thank you for calling that out. It is really important. Did you have any economic development?
So yes, economic development this month. For the next month, there will be a campaign every Thursday night. It'll be announced. I think this Thursday might be at Shoveltown. Next Thursday will be at McGuire's. And what we're going to do is it's a Where's Chris campaign. So you go take a picture. You might win a gift card or something. But what we're also going to do, I'm trying to get a group of people to go and support this gentleman who's doing this great work for us. So if anybody's looking to hang out and talk town stuff or whatever, for the next few Thursday nights, I'll be wherever this guy is, and hopefully somebody will join me, and we can hang out and chit chat and support economic development. And following that, we have a huge introduction of this incredible app that the town has been working really hard. Dottie has been working incredibly hard in creating this. And that's going to be the next big thing. And I can't wait to sink my teeth into that and help Dottie spread word on that.
Great. Maybe that's something we could put on the Economic Development Council's Facebook page, is where the Thursday event is where Chris is going to be on the Thursdays, and show up and support him. For people that don't know Chris Gammons, he's a fixture in the community, and people love him, and he's fun, and it would be nice to go out and show him that he's got a following. I bet he would appreciate that.
So for those of us who don't engage in social media, can Mark let us know where he's going to be on those?
I will.
So I can actually be there to see Chris and to see you, Mark.
You might have to be seen out in the public with me, though.
That's fine with me. That's fine with me.
That sounds good. I look forward to it.
Great. Jamie, any updates from you?
Yeah, I'm just going to say, because I know we touched on recycling tonight, and just emphasize again, it's a big initiative of the Green Communities Committee to get more education out there. So we are going to pull together, and we've got some wonderful talent on that committee, as Craig is aware. We are losing someone with a lot of talent too, but with that opening, hopefully we'll find someone to join the team. But so there's some real good marketing folks on the team, which will really help get that out, because like we've all said here, we all make the mistake. I'm a wish cycler, and I'm really trying to break that habit where you just want to do good, but you're doing bad if we start having our contamination rates go up. So I know that's a real thing, and I don't want to be part of the problem. So this group, I really look forward to, especially the NRT fair, fall fair. we're kind of eyes on that for a big education blitz there as well. So that team is doing great work. And a shout out to Mike Blanchard as well. So thank you, Connor, for pointing that out and all the work he's been doing, all the hats that many folks on the administrative team have been doing, including Connor, as they work a few extra, wearing a few additional hats right now. So thank you.
Terrific. Jennifer.
Yeah, last week I went to the All Town Fresh ribbon cutting, and that was really a fun and exciting event to see folks so engaged. For those who don't know, this is the it's more than a convenience store, but the convenience store meets sandwich shop feels like a Whole Foods almost when you walk in at the mobile station. So definitely check it out if you haven't yet. And the other thing that I'll just put a plug in for is the reminder on the water ban, that we're in a water ban phase 3 still. I talk to lots of folks as I go out and about, and I am one of those people who talks about water and the water ban. And I'm always blown away by how many people don't know about the situation. The sign that is down on Depot Street does help. It seems like that's been an avenue for a lot of people to realize that they need to go online and get more information. But just, a quick reminder that lawn sprinklers and irrigation systems are limited to the one time a week for a limited time period. And, what we're doing now will affect our water situation down the road. So even though it feels like we're getting less rain and, this can't be a problem, it actually is, because the ground water tables are still being used in a different way than our rain patterns are helping recharge them. So just a reminder on that.
Thanks, Jen.
Good point.
Connor, I think I remembered have remembered what you were going to talk about, the vaccination clinic coming up on the 28th. Is
Sure.
that it?
It may be, but I'm happy to. We probably tomorrow will get pre-registration forms and advertising out, but we are working with the Chamber of Commerce, Economic Development Council, and Mass Hire Greater Brockton Workforce Investment Board to try to roll out a job fair and vaccine clinic in one. We're going to call it Jobs and Jabs, and it will be an opportunity for folks to get obviously free COVID vaccine if they're one of those who maybe haven't gotten around to it yet and are interested in doing so, and also engage with HB, not employ, but if you'd like, get a vaccine and speak with some businesses who are hiring and if they're looking for employment and try and connect those populations up. So I think that'll be a nice concept to try out, and we should be publishing tomorrow. And that clinic will be Monday, the 28th, 4 to 7.
Okay, terrific. And my comment is that I was able to be there at the Habitat for Humanity house this weekend on Saturday to see the new family, the Reasoner family, get presented with their new home. And it's beautiful. And it's just so exciting to be a part of those happy events where we welcome somebody new to the community. His little boy was so excited that, he's going to have a new place to live. And the people that worked on the house, I know I've joked around before that I actually signed up to help with the house, meaning I was going to get, offer to get coffee or pass them things. And they handed me a tool belt and a hard hat and power tools. You actually really help. And it's exciting when you're doing it. It's a little nerve wracking, but they want you to actually experience trying all of the things that they do. So I didn't break anything that day. And, that was a good sign. But it was exciting to go back and look and say, I helped build that part of the wall. And there were a lot of people there that had participated in it. So Habitat for Humanity has projects in the area pretty often. And I would recommend for people to either volunteer your time or your money to support those events. It's really just an incredible organization. So congratulations to the new family. Really excited to have you in Easton. So we do have an executive session under purposes 3 of Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 21A, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with IAFF Local 2790. If the open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body and the chair so declares. So I would make a motion to adjourn our regular meeting and enter into an executive session, not to return to open session.
Second, Barger.
Lamb, yes.
So do,
I'm sorry, wait, did you make the move? Did you make the move or did Craig?
She made the motion. I seconded it, so it's all right.
so,
Okay.
Now we,
so
Barger,
Got it.
we
okay, go ahead,
have
Di.
to do a roll call vote to go into executive session.
Barger, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Evans, yes.
Stacy, yes.
And full Janetti, yes. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night, and we will check back in a minute in the executive session.